Transmissions jammed. Proximity coverage only.
Hey guys, Jacob here. This is going to be a video on some details on the new Foundry raid. We only have a little bit of information so far, but there's been stuff leaked like all the bosses, which are not 100% confirmed, but they've been data mined apparently, and this is some of the information on them I'm going to be talking about. I'm also going to be discussing the 2 new gear sets that are going to be added in the raid, and also the 2 new exotics. But first is going to be talking about the bosses first, which is going to be the Division 2 raid Foundry, which is kind of the lore background. When I landed a gig at the United Ironworks, I thought I was set, medical, dental, the works. 4 days later, Green Poison made a joke out of my insurance and took my parents. Some of the crew set up a camp in the Foundry, and we decided to keep the lights on and reconfigure the machines to make emergency survival stuff, try to help people, you know. I guess the True Sons didn't like that. They killed most of us before I even knew what was happening. Apparently they don't like or think I'm much of a threat, but I've been keeping my eyes and ears open. I swear to God, I'm going to find a way to make them pay. Z. That's going to be kind of an introduction, and then we have Raid Boss 1, which is going to be Lieutenant Gray. Gray used to be a big shot superstar surgeon somewhere. He stole a bunch of drugs, and like a dozen of his patients died in weird circumstances. When the news broke, his face was everywhere online. He doesn't know that I know, but I know I've seen Green Poison break a lot of people, turn them twisted and sour. This guy was broken years ago. The first raid boss ability is going to be the custom MP5. Gray's not a born warrior. Borzova has given him a bunch of training. They gave him an MP5, but customized it so hard as possible for him to F it up using it. I've heard his bodyguards room for it, but never when he's nearby. Which is going to be raid boss ability 2, which is going to be bodyguards. On Marzova's orders, 3 True Sons stick to Gray like glue whenever a fight starts. But they have ridiculously big shields, and their top priority is to figure out the biggest threat to Gray's life and then get in the way. His ego is so enormous, he loves it. Every bodyguard around him boosts his confidence and make him harder and harder to kill. His bodyguard detail is called the Short Straw. Then we have Raid Boss Ability 3, 4, 5, and 6. 3 is going to be the Ironclad armor system. I thought True Sons weren't that smart, but they still managed to make some division tech, you know, that Hive nano stuff, and combine it with some of the steel reserves in the Foundry to make this crazy tough plating in less than a second. Gray can simultaneously armor up and give himself a dose of combat stims, although I'm pretty sure it's just spikes he stole from the hyenas. Next we have the Ironclad Dispenser. They gave Gray this wacky armor tech, but apparently that wasn't enough for him. He asked for a way to shoot this nanosteel, or whatever it's called, at range. So I'm really not looking forward to get hit by this, because it's probably going to hurt. Next is going to be the Ironclad Overdose. Gray was careful enough to test his armor on True Son grunts. First, it was assumed they mostly die from this, but it was given for punishments. Pretty soon they discovered that the test subjects' bodies went haywire when totally soaked in this stuff. Adrenaline spikes to the roof. That total combat beast. Ever since then, Gray has been burning through his personal supply most nights. I guess it's quite the rush. Then Raid Boss Ability 6 is going to be the Healing Backpack, which there's no description on this yet. Next we have Raid Boss 2, which is Captain Visor. Not exactly to find out, or that hard to find out about someone's past when they won't stop bragging about it. Visor ran a fire station DC, blah blah blah. Promotion fast track, blah, although he says it's pure merits. That definitely can't be true. The only thing that this guy cares about is being the toughest, big and loudest asshole in the room. He clearly gives no shits about taking responsibility, but loves taking credits. And the first ability is going to be called the Last Dragon. Visor claims to love his modified flamethrower, but he sure doesn't treat it a lot with respect. My therapist would have a field day with this piece of work. Then we have the propane injection system. Visor bullied one of his engineers into bolting an extra fuel tank into his flamethrower and keeps it full of propane. Loves cranking it up and turning the flames blue. The more he cranks, the more dangerous it looks. He's going to blow himself up one day, hopefully somewhere I can watch. Then we have Raid Boss Ability 3, 4, and 5. Number 3 is going to be the Hellfire Grenade, which is going to be pretty much standard incendiary grenades, and he just made some stupid name for it. Then we have Firestorm, which is Visor constantly flaunts safety protocols, likes it to make an action movie star something. I've seen him spray gallons of gasoline in the air, then set on fire just for shits and giggles while he was still standing in the middle of it. Funny that he never does this without a fireproof suit, though. Real brave boy. Then you have Hotshot. Visor dumb pet name for that cannon stuck on top of a rail car. It's World War II level at best, but the True Sons have this weird hard-on for that historical stuff. Pretty sure that means it's more vulnerable than usual to modern explosives, though. That stuff we can make now is a billion times stronger than it was back then. Unfortunately, I have no idea how to get my hands on any of these True Sons guards up my ass. Then we have Raid Boss 3, which is going to be Lieutenant Williams. I avoid Williams like a plague. Most people do. A lot of True Sons seem to have come from a criminal gang or whatever, but he's got a ton of legit military experience. You can tell just by the way he carries himself. He worships Morzova and does anything she says, like seriously anything, no matter how effed up it is. Half the stories I've heard are true. He's crossed the line long ago. He can't even see it anymore. Then we have Raid Boss Ability 1, which this is the one I'm mostly curious about. It's called the Furnace. I was never allowed to get near this monster. I need years of more training, which obviously ain't going to happen now. It doesn't help that this guy would love to scare me with horror stories of how easily I can get out of balance and how fast it can melt down if you weren't on your toes. One poor dude apparently got melted to the wall by a blast of the super hot steam. Right to the wall. You do not F with the furnace unless you are deranged and have a death wish or something, or both, which is why I'm not thrilled that Williams has taken an interest. So overall, this one's really curious because it doesn't sound like going to be like a boss. It's going to be a room of some type that can pretty much melt us to walls by the sounds of it. And that's really interesting. Next is going to be Raid Boss 2 and 3, which are kind of connected, which is going to be the Chimera Chem Launcher. Williams has a chem launcher from an agent that he killed, but modified it so he can swap super fast between two different kinds of ammo. Apparently, only chemical warfare is straight up war crime level stuff that can give him whatever sick thrill he's after. Then we have the Corroder, which is True Sun engineers are constantly telling him not to mess with the oxidized recipe too much. If they're lucky, he ignores them. If they're unlucky, he takes it personally, and they tend to disappear. Either way, he ignores them, anything they say, and basically cranks up the toxicity beyond safe levels. I'm surprised his chem launcher hasn't melted inside out yet. That's going to be 1, 2, and 3. Then we have 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4 is going to be Wildfire. Regular Firestorm ammo is already pretty effective. It starts fire. What more do you want? Well, turns out Williams wasn't satisfied with that and made a new version. He used light targets until he was satisfied and burnt as hot and as long as he wanted. He used my friends. He didn't need to do that, but he did. One day he'll get what's coming to him. Then we have the Lockdown Seeker Mines, which this one to me is really funny, but it's also a bit of a dick move. More tech stolen from Division, because of course it is. But the way they talk, I swear True Sons think they're warriors of truth and justice or some shit, but they just thieves and murderers with a rank and uniform if you ask me. Riot Foam is more annoying already isn't enough, but William put a Seeker Mines in it so he can nail people from even further distance away, because he's a dick. So, overall, this is just saying that this boss is going to be a pure asshole. Then you have the Reinforcement Unit. He was originally kind of annoyed having to carry this around. He said it would slow him down, but personally I think he's a bit of a misogynist deep down, and this gets in the way. Morzova insisted, though, when she does not at the end of the conversation, even Williams isn't crazy enough to question her. Then you have Corrosive Haze, which is William is literally so toxic that you can't get close to him without being hurt. Is he aware of the iron here? Who knows? So by the sounds of it, we are not actually going to be able to get close to him. It's kind of going to be like that basically global event from the first game, where you can't even get at him at all or get near him at all, and it just pretty much kills you the closer you get. So instead of being next to him, we're going to be farther away from him in farther ways as much as possible. Then we have Raid Boss 4, which is Colonel Morzova. One thing I know for sure about Morzova is that she is truly genuine and believes that the True Sons are going to rise up and take over the whole damn country. Honestly, when she talks about it, even I feel pretty convinced she is capable of seeing it through. She never talks about her past, but the soldiers surely love gossip, and the only thing they agree on is that she broke some kind of all-time record with her military academy exams years ago. But after that, no one really knows that she went and what she did. She knows a lot about a lot. I'm willing to bet she's all over the world doing bad shit, but honestly, I'm not sure what I want to know. She scares me more than anything, and I've never heard raise her voice. And the first ability is going to be Iron Horse. Honestly, had no idea Morzova could build something like this in only a few months. I didn't even know the rail network was still intact, but she always does her homework, so I guess she picked up on something everyone else just forgot. The whole thing is a massive steel plates all over it, so regular weapons even tickle. I can carry God knows how many troops, or even the rail car seems to have a different or even more terrifying weapons on top of it. Mortars, machine guns, all sorts, and the name sounds slightly racist to me. Which is going to be basically rail carts by the sounds of it that just have weapons on top of them. But I'm really excited to see what these look like when they're done. Then we have the Earthshaker Cannon, which is whenever the whole thing is using a sledgehammer to crack every nut. Then, of course, you're going to have the biggest cannon has ever seen stuck to the top of a massive armored train. Of course you are. At least one True Son schmuck went permanently deaf because he stood too close during a test fire and makes the ground literally shake, so I guess that's why they call it the Earthshaker, real creative, the True Sons. Then you have shock harpoons. Yeah, shock harpoons. Honestly, I didn't even realize this was a thing. Maybe it isn't, and Morzova just had a brain that works in a really weird way. Who puts harpoons on a train and plugs them into generators so they zap on the ground like that? So obviously we're going to be able probably to get shocked. Next is going to be the GAU-25 Vindicator autocannon, which is going to be, rumor has it, that Morzova was one that suggested taking that big crazy cannon from Air and Space Museum and dumping it outside the capital as a precaution. Fair to say she bleeds being overprepared, and of course she found a second one somewhere and had brought it here. They call it the Vindicator. Well, grunts do. I don't think she cares what it's called as long as it melts anything it's pointed at. Then we have the 5, 6, and 7, which number 5 is going to be the Avalanche AA gun, which is pretty much going to be her primary weapon by the sounds of it. So it's just a standard Avalanche AA-12 shotgun. Then we have the Reckoning shoulder-mounted missile launcher. Morozova is the kind of woman who carries around a missile launcher almost everywhere she goes, just in case. I have no idea what it takes to create a person who thinks like that. When she's determined to solve a problem, it really puts her mind to it. She literally an explosive to stop her. Literally, I've seen this happen, and she only flinched. Fury. I've seen Morozova make it one of her soldiers piss himself without saying a word. She just looked at him while he tried to explain himself. She's like a robot or something. She never shows emotions, but you know, she could destroy you in a second with a freaky robot strength. People say that saw her lose her shit once, but I don't believe it. I think rumors at startup because people want to believe she's human like the rest of us, but I know what she's done. She's not human. So that's going to be the first section I'm going to be covering. And then next up, I'm going to be talking about the new weapons. Alright guys, next up is going to be new gear sets and also the 2 new exotic, and I'm also going to talk about a little bit about the location. But first is going to be the Regulus and the Revenus. As you guys know, this is the new AR, or the Gilboa snake gun as you guys call it, or the assault rifle that a lot of people thought it was going to be, but it's actually just a rifle, and the new revolver, which is here in the top left corner. But these are the talents you guys will see right here, which is the Ravenous and the talent on Ravenous is Gary Infrect. On trigger pull, fire both barrels at once. When fired from right shoulder, hits add offensive primers and defensive primers when fired from the left shoulder. Hits from one shoulder will detonate all the opposite shoulder primers when present. When detonated, each offensive primer deals 75% weapon damage, which each defensive primer deals 2% bonus armor for 5 seconds. Primer effectiveness is doubled at 10 stacks. Then you have Regicide, which is for the Regulus. Headshot kills deal 400% weapon damage and apply bleed to enemies within 5 meters of the enemy killed. So I could see this being used with a lot of shield builds and also possibly maybe even the Gunslinger holster. But overall, I'm really excited to get my hands on these because I really, really like the Ravenous and the style of that weapon, and it's just really cool. And also, I can't wait to get the Regulus, so both these are going to be raid exclusives, just like the Eagle Bear. Next is going to be the 2 new gear sets, which is going to be the Foundry Bulwark Gear Initiative, which Foundry Bulwark is pretty much a shield build gear set, kind of like, I guess you could compare this to something like Defense back in the day, but it's not just like Defense. It's an example. You have 10% total armor for the 2-piece, 3% armor second generation, and then you have makeshift repairs, which is whenever you or your shield takes damage, 40% of that amount is repaired to both over 10 seconds. Then we have Future Initiative, which is 15% skill repair, 15% skill duration, and 15% cooldown reduction. Then Ground Control increases you and your allies' total weapon damage by 15% when at full armor. When you repair an ally, you and allies within 5 meters of you are also repaired of 60% of that amount. So increases you and your allies' total damage by 15% when at full armor. So if you're using this, say, in a legendary mission and you're using Empathic Resolve potentially, and this is just the 4-piece, we don't even know what, like, I guess the talents are going to be on this. So maybe this essentially could be maybe the new Reclaimer. I'd be really happy if they actually added the Reclaimer box back, or just a box in general, and hopefully we can dream and get that back later on in this game, just like the Sticky Bomb. And finally is going to be a picture of the location. We have a few pictures, which I'm not going to show you guys them all. I will cover that in a video later on in part 2. This will be a part 1 and part 2 video. Like I said, the first part is going to be actually this, which I'm going to be covering all this stuff, and then part 2 will actually maybe playing the raid when it comes out eventually. But overall, this is kind of just a picture of the location, and you guys will see there's a lot of fire. I'm not sure what area this is, but this is a picture that was released a long time ago. I think this was E3, the left-hand corner there in day 2. They showed a picture of this, so we'll actually finally get to play this after waiting a long period of time. But overall, that's about it, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope this video helped, and I will see you guys in the next one, and I can't wait to show you guys the raid when it comes out.